Yo, 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 what's going on? It's your boy Kuya P of the ShoPowSho. Before we get to this week's episode of the ShoPowSho, I want y'all to check out this amazing festival that I'll be collaborating with my folks over at the Mixed Asian Media Festival. Here we go right now. Check it out.
In 2017, we launched Hapa Mag, inspired by my blog, Miso Hapa.
For many of us, it has come to represent a space for us to express our mixed racial heritage with Asian or Pacific Islander ancestry.
To be Hapa is to be a part of a diverse and growing community with many perspectives.
In 2021, we made the decision to move to a broader future by renaming ourselves Mixed Asian Media, MAM for short.
In celebration of this re-identification, we present the first Mixed Asian Media Fest, MAM Fest, a glimpse of Mixed Asian and Pacific Islanders in their art forms, including art, film, theater, and dance.
In light of recent events, MAMFest will be an online event. However, we're hopeful that future years will allow us to meet in person and gather in physical space.
And have a creative project? Submit to MAMFest on filmfreeway.com.
Yo, what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. I am Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange. You know me of the Holla Holla homies in the Cine Gang. And I have the Lechon ladies over here, the amazing Ates, Kataphorric, and Viva Valentina. What's up, Lechon ladies?
Hey, hello.
Hey, y'all ready for another one?
I'm excited for today. We have some special guests on today.
Yes, this is gonna be a little bit of a crazy one. This one is I guess I'm the first one out the gate to bring one of my partners, my peoples that I grew up with. So who knows what's gonna happen with these wild ones. Just know that if y'all go hard on me with my peoples, I'm gonna go hard on y'all and y'all peoples. But it's all love. It's all love. Here we go. This man who's coming up today is a longtime friend, best friend. We grew up together in Charleston, South Carolina, aka Goose Creek, South Carolina. I was part of his Filipino basketball team called the Agojo Red Storm. He was the best man at my wedding. Love this brother to death. He and I went into the military together. He stayed in, I got out because I wasn't about that life. I love this man to death. Here's my Kuya, Myke Agojo. Come on in, brother. Let's bring him in. Myke,
hey, appreciate for y'all having me. Appreciate it.
What's up, man?
How you going? Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, bro, thank you for coming on, man. We wanted to, make this, this whole theme of this podcast, and I know you've been checking it out on the side and been following through with what I've been doing with these lovely ladies here to my side, is us kind of exploring ourselves and our people and our culture to just tell that Filipino story, that Filipino American story, that we're not a monolith, that we're more than, the sum of our parts and just what everybody thinks we are. And we want to tell all of our various stories. So, man, appreciate you to come on and to tell a little bit of our story, you and I. But I want to tell your story.
Yeah, I'm ready to roast you, man.
Before we get to our story, before we get roasted,
do this
or whatever, But before we begin, I want to send a shout out to my boy Monkey, aka Neil Castellier. He was supposed to be on here with us as well. But right as we started up, we had some technical difficulties, but shout out to Monkey. We'll get him on again soon so you can see more of my crew that I grew up with. And we're going to have a little bit more special episodes like this. And we're going to hit up the ladies too. We got to get the Ates. I got to know about them, because they're going to try and dig into me.
People's on here.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to go right back at them. But appreciate you joining on, man. And y'all ladies ready to get into this? Ready to do this with my boy here? All right, so Tina starts us off, man. You've been watching it, so I'm gonna throw it to Tina to kick us off.
So let's start. We want to know where are you from, and where are your parents from?
So where are my parents from? So I pretty much, I guess I want to say I grew up in the Philippines half my life. So my parents, of course, my dad is from Pangasinan, which is Baguio side, northern part of the Philippines, and my mom is from General Santos City. So she's down south, pretty much where our president is from right now. So, but I grew up in the Philippines for about 12 years. My dad was in the military, like most of us, But with him, he pretty much was stationed in Subic. So I lived in Subic for about 12 years. So I was able to be fortunate enough to, I guess, live in the Philippines, experience the Philippines. But also, while I was there, I didn't go to Philippine school. I went to the base school. So I went to American side school of the house. But we live off base. So we live past Barrio Barreto. We live in Santa Monica. So I got to experience, of course, the Filipino culture on that side. Once I got off school, rode the bus for like an hour, drove us over the mountains, and some parts of the Philippines, they had like this mountain where it's all like cemeteries. So part of it was like passing through cemeteries. So of course, when the Day of the Dead came, you'd see a whole bunch of cemeteries going that way and people out there celebrating Day of the Dead, kind of like the Spanish side of the house. I think that's where we pretty much got it, that side of the house too. So that's pretty cool. But that was fun.
My mom used to tell me stories of that, like All Saints Day, and how the cemeteries would be all lit up at night with candles.
Oh yeah.
And I always thought that sounded beautiful. So that's spooky.
Yeah, it's kind of spooky because I remember growing up and we all celebrated. We all came to the house, and in the Philippines they'd have this flower called the sampaguita. So it's like everybody, it's like a lei of sampaguitas. You smell it. And I remember all the kids was playing in one room, and all of a sudden we smell like sampaguita, right? We're like, oh, what is that? Like out of nowhere. And we all ran to the living room where all the adults were. And all they said was, oh, that's your grandparents, your great-grandparents visiting you, and your aunts and uncles visiting you, coming over here. Because it was the Day of the Dead. And we all smelled that. So we all like, what the hell? So it was exciting, but it was like scary too. It was like, really? But of course, it's part of a culture, and it was one of those great things where you went to the cemetery, of course, visit the Day of the Dead celebration. It's more a celebration. It's a celebration of life, pretty much. So that was pretty cool. But like going home to the Philippines, I mean, that's one of our trip is going through this mountain, and on the right hand side it'd be like nothing but a mountain full of of the dead, cemetery. So going to where we live in Santa Monica, so that's pretty cool.
Wow, that is really cool.
That is really cool.
I'm super into cemeteries and old what are the mausoleums and like the architecture of old cemeteries and Victorian cemeteries and things like that. So I'm like, what? Tell me more. This mountain of graves.
People actually live there. Like they had caretakers living there. Like people, poor people, they live over there in the cemetery, and it was like, oh, you got your own caretaker for free. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's neat because we have such like a separation here in the States, I think, between like you don't go there except for special occasions or funerals, and otherwise you live your life totally apart from that.
Yeah.
That's really like, that's really cool.
Wow. Dang. So you lived there until you were 12, and then your dad got restationed?
Yeah, so pretty much I lived there since I was 12. And my dad did like odd job. Well, he was in supply military aviation side. So he did like orders that was out of the way. Like after the Philippines, we went to Adak, Alaska, like Aleutian Islands. Like nobody was there, like 200 people on this small ass island. So we did that for like 3 years. Then went to California, lived there for a couple years. And then my dad retired. And then we went to South Carolina. So for me, since I was a military brat, I would call South Carolina my home because that's high school. That was more like where stability finally happened for me. So like middle school, elementary, I remembered it, but not a lot. High school is like pretty much where you grow your friends, where you meet lifelong friends. Like Pat, me and Pat's known each other for forever.
All right, yeah. So tell us about that.
Hey, not yet.
But why South Carolina though?
Say again?
Why South Carolina? So this is after he retired.
Yes. So my dad retired. He retired out of Ridgecrest, South Carolina, or Ridgecrest, California. So from there, we had a family friend that they knew in Spain before I was born that retired over there. So they were going to take us to the Philippines. My dad was going to be like, hey, look, I'm retiring. We're going to go to the Philippines. You guys going to live over there, go to high school over there. And me and my sister was like, no, because I mean, we like most of our teenage life, we didn't know the Philippines. So me and her was like totally against it. We would have gone to like a private school in Baguio where, they spoke English, but we weren't hearing that because we wanted to stay in the States. So that's pretty much where we grew up. And he was pretty much, okay. So he gave us kind of ultimatum. My sister still kept in touch with our friends in the Philippines. And of course, there are family friends. It's what, my uncle. Not real uncle, but we call him my uncle because we knew him in the military, So we found them, and she still kept in touch with her friends, with their kids, and we're like, okay, hey, come to South Carolina, come Charleston, South Carolina, Goose Creek. So that's why we ended up moving over there because we had family over there. If we consider them family because, military, like anybody you meet, you've known for a long time, they become your family, especially when you have no family around. So they're pretty much our family, the Delays. So we went to Charleston. My mom went there first. She set up shop, bought a house. And then my dad finally retired and we drove around cross country and pretty much had high school in South Carolina. So
when did you get to South Carolina, Mike?
Shoot,
what year was that?
93, 654, 94. Yeah, 94, 93. So
you got there right when I got there then.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, pretty much almost yeah.
That's
months before you got there.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's a great question, Tina. Like I never knew when Mike got there. Like, and so now it's kind of wild because I wasn't even supposed to come back to South Carolina. My dad, we were originally stationed there for like 4 years. And then my dad got restationed to Gulfport, Mississippi. And then once he got out.
How old were you when your dad first got stationed over there?
In South Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So you really don't remember it then, huh? Probably like elementary school.
I'm old as hell now. I don't remember shit.
Yeah, you are old.
I was probably
glad you know.
Yeah, right.
Man, it was like I think we left in 90. I think no. I think we left in 91 is when we left South Carolina the first time. Then we went to Mississippi, then we went to Washington State, and then we came back to South Carolina. And that was only because it was because I was the last place my dad enjoyed being at. Even though we had all of our family in Washington State, I was getting into fights and shit, which I talked about on a previous episode, which is why we moved to South Carolina. And then funny thing, then that's when you link up there, man. That's crazy. That was, I never knew that. And what I've been realizing as y'all were talking and going back and forth is I've never asked Mike any of this shit. Like, I don't know, because we just grew up, you know what I'm saying? And like high school, like we didn't recollect, bro, where were you born in the Philippines and shit like that? And how was
we all just started hanging out.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I met you was with Neil Ritzel.
At a Taco Bell,
Neil
bro.
Neil brought you around and be like, who the hell is this cat? Who the hell brought this Hispanic cat over here, But of course we got to know you and we're like, oh shoot, and Phil-Am, we had Phil-Am over there. So we, basketball, the little Filipino parties, come to find out you're half Filipino. We're like, oh shit, basketball team, let's go, let's build this up. So we had enough for a basketball team. So that's pretty cool.
That's the only reason, because they were all the full Filipinos, yo. Like Myke and his squad,
Yeah.
AKA HBP, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which was our crew. HBP originally, well, Myke can probably tell this story better because he knows. I got told the story. Was hot boiled peanuts with our squad, because there was like this fair place or this like flea market, and everybody would eat hot boiled peanuts. But later on, because that ain't a cool name for a crew, it became the hard brown Pinoys. But I'll let Myke.
Is this where your love for acronyms came from?
Hey, a little bit of that.
Everything's an acronym.
A little bit of that, and then the Navy, because the Navy, acronym city.
Navy's notorious for acronyms.
Let me rewind. So you came over at 12, which I never knew, Myke. So you were happy with coming to the States, leaving the Philippines and your family that were there?
Well, you're a kid, so you don't know any better.
Yeah.
So like living in the Philippines, you got exposed to like the Philippines and American culture, going on base. So my parents pretty much talked to me in Tagalog and Ilocano. So like I could understand like 3 languages.
Damn.
So, but the thing is, like with Tagalog, I really didn't start talking Tagalog until I came to the Navy, when I started meeting other Filipinos. So I was able to understand it. I talked to my mom. My mom would yell at me, the basic, hey, get up. It's time for, kain na tayo, let's eat. So, I mean, she teach me like the basics. And then of course, watching Filipino movies, you just, especially being young, you start knowing, you start learning. And then she'd always get sick of me because I would always ask her questions like, what is this? What does mabaho mean? Because you're watching movies and they were like, oh, that means smelly, And I remember my mom getting mad at me one time because I kept asking her questions like, what is this? What is this? What does that mean? And she's like, just shut up and just watch it. And then, you eventually learn Tagalog. But for me, I never spoke Tagalog until I came to the military, when I met other Filipinos who spoke it as well too, who were, I don't want to say like most of them like fobs, came straight from the Philippines, joined the military. And then we started hanging out and they start talking Tagalog. So they used to make fun of me because my Tagalog was bad.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, it was like half broken English, half broken Tagalog. They're like, they look at me and they're like, the hell is he saying? Sometimes they'd be like, hey, don't talk Tagalog anymore to me. They're like, no, man, I gotta learn. I gotta start, learning how to speak Tagalog. So, sometimes they like look at me like, the hell is he talking about? And I say it in English and be like, oh, okay, and then they correct me. So that's where I finally started talking Tagalog. I mean, like growing up in Goose Creek, South Carolina, none of us really spoke unless you spoke to your parents, unless you like, for me, every time I you go to a girl's house, you meet their parents. I was like, oh, kamusta na ante? They'd be like, oh, he speaks Tagalog. But like, oh, here's my daughter. You need to come there, So for me, talking Tagalog, that was a good thing for me because, I knew enough to like get me by. So all the aunties always liked me because, of course, I spoke a little bit of Tagalog, even though they knew it was like broken Tagalog. But, they're like, oh, okay, he knows a little bit of Tagalog. Hey. So
you weren't very resistant, but was your sister, Amor, was Amor okay to leave? Being a little bit older?
Well, she didn't know no better neither. So,
okay.
I mean, all we wanted to do is like, explore. So my dad, we knew my dad was in the military. So like, okay, hey, we're going here. We had no choice.
Yeah.
So as young kids, you had no choice. And you just come, adapt, and, go with the flow. So from there, from the Philippines, we went from the Philippines, nice weather, to Alaska. Alaska, like not even like Washington, not Canada. We went to Alaska.
And like 200 people, you said? Like, that's why you were there for 3 years? What?
Yeah, we were there for 3 years. So this was like Aleutian Islands. This was like, they had a forest over there. You know what the forest consists of? Like 7 trees. That's what they called Adak Alaska Forest, because all they had was like 7 trees. So it was like surrounded by ocean. Nobody came there. It was mostly a military base. So from like nice weather to cold ass, hey, I've never seen snow before. And then like we're covered in snow 365 days of the year. It was cold. So like, dang. So once we got over there, like the weather, like wearing jackets and stuff, we're like, the hell? You go outside, you're all wearing jackets, you're all bundled up, you're going to school. It's like, what is this white stuff on the ground? So it was pretty cool. I mean, I got to learn to, you know, make snowballs and snowman. Got to learn what snow was. So that was pretty cool.
So
you guys were hyped to get out of there, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then go to California,
Right? Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like nice weather to cold weather, back to hot weather, to where we were like in the middle of California, where it was straight sand. Like I remember getting out of the van that they drove us from the airport, reached on the ground, and was like, "What is this?" Like, sand, what is this? From snow to sand. So, and then over there it was hot too. So it's like nice weather, cold, hot, yeah. And then South Carolina was a little bit of each.
Right.
So that was cool.
It's seasons.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, we had seasons over there. Fall. Yeah, in California it was like nothing but hot, and it like get cold at night, kind of like Vegas. So it's by Vegas, where at night it's like super cold. So you're like, damn.
Right. I have some family in like Central California area, and I didn't like. We went out there, and I'm like, you're driving through the hills, and they look like the chocolate hills in Mario. Like, they're all, like, covered in grass. There's no trees. It's just like these beautiful chocolate hills, and then it's like really hot during the day, and then super cold at night.
Super cold at night. Yep.
And my mom's like, "Oh no, yeah, we're in the desert." I was like, "Oh."
That's where we were at, pretty much. It was air base. So air base, like I just heard they just set up Walmart like 5 years ago. Like that's how small of a town this was. So it was really bad. So I mean, like that town too. Like growing up, thinking about it now, I'm like, I hung out with like the bad card over there too. I was there for middle school and like 9th grade, and it was like, damn, I hung out with some pretty bad people over there. Because for thinking it back now, that was kind of like the central of where like drugs would flow through before it got distributed to South, you know, all the places in California. So
in middle school.
So yo, talk on that, man. What was life growing up there in those formative years, bro? Like any racial issues, like leaving the Philippines where you were around Filipinos, then you were in like Alaska and very few people there. So like let's talk on that. See, growing up in the military, I really didn't see racism. Because military is so diverse. You know, we have blacks, browns, Asians, you know, we had a whole bunch of different cultures that we're exposed to. So for me growing up, even in the Philippines, you know, I really didn't see like people being rude or showing, you know, being racist amongst each other. So like even in South Carolina where we grew up, I mean, we grew up at a lower middle class neighborhood. You know, we had predominantly Asians and blacks where we grew up in South Carolina, you know, you with your sprinkle of whites. But for us, we're all poor. So for me, racism, I mean, I really didn't see it. Even in South Carolina, California, I really didn't see it because mostly there it was like Hispanic, and it was more like, how do you say? It was more about rich versus poor, like, you know, middle class. Yeah, it was more of the classes. Yeah. So especially with the people I hung out with in middle school, I mean, we're all poor, and you know, half the people was military and half the people was Hispanic. Yeah. So I grew up with a lot of Hispanics and blacks growing up in middle school, and then same thing with high school. You know, our neighborhood was just diverse. Yeah. So what were you into in California? You said you got into a little bit of incidents here and there where it's a little bit rough because, you know, that was kind of like a hub for drugs to come through. Well, what were you getting into and maybe might have gotten into too much that could have got you into some trouble, bro?
I can't really talk about that much because thinking about it now, I was like, damn, we did some pretty bad stuff. So,
really? It's like that?
Yeah, for me in high school, like I was there for 3 years in California. I went to the on-base school for 1 year. Next year, my dad bought a house. So I had to go to school off base. And then after that, after hearing all the stuff that I was doing off base and the school over there, he brought me back and started living back on base. So like 3 years I was there, I like moved back to school every year. Wow. So, so it was like the friends, like I played basketball. So, you know, the basketball team, those are the people like, oh, hey, you're playing for that team, that school now. So, but the people that was, you know, we all hung out and did pretty much, I don't want to say what I did, but it wasn't good. Like thinking about it now, I was like, oh man, I'm glad my kids aren't, you know, exposed to that, what I was exposed to. Yeah. Like the drugs, you know, people beating up each other, gangs. I remember Satanas was there, MS-13. Like I hung out with guys over there. I remember one incident where we had a girl. She was Hispanic, and she just like she wanted to join MS-13. And like one of the things that she had to do was like she had to sleep with all the guys. I was like, what? Why would you want to join a gang where you had to sleep with all the guys to become a member? So, but you know, I hung out with those guys, but I never, you know, got full-fledged. Because one of the things that they did, like for you to join, was they put you in the middle and they jump you, and then like you're in the gang. So to me, that was like, I just stayed with a basketball team. I hung out with those guys because we're all cool, you know. But yeah, all the other stuff I was exposed to it, but I didn't partake as much as I'm glad I didn't. So I had more sense even in elementary, middle school to not do any of that stuff. So
okay.
But like racist stuff, I mean, it's just really Hispanics, Filipinos, we're all lower class. We're all poor. So it's just us hanging out.
Yeah, it's being a Navy kid, it is more of a class type thing, but there is it depends really where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Racism will always turn its head, you know. But I would agree that it's a major class thing in the military. Okay, so now we're leaving Cali, and now you and I link up in high school, brother, and we meet at the Taco Bell, and here I am with the other mestizo brother of the squad, Neil, Big Neil. And so shout out to Neil Rissell, and yeah, what's up, Neil? So we all link up, man, and basketball is what, you know, brings it together. And so let's talk about
let me tell you, bro. I remember we used to make fun of Pat. If you
here we go.
Saturday Night Live.
Oh shit.
Right? They had this skit where they're like, Pat, what's that? You know, it was like they didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. And I remember we used to make fun of Pat, but like, Pat, he's coming. What's that? Who's Pat? You know, it was like, oh man. But once we got to know Pat, we're like, okay, we can't make fun of him anymore like that. You know, that skit from Saturday Night Live. Oh, Pat, what's that? We're like, dude, we can't do that. Because everybody had a nickname. Like, you know, we had Monkey, our friend Neil. I mean, Monkey. Like, who names their friend Monkey? And then we had another fellow named Neil, and we call him Hot Garbage. Because the way he shot basketball was like garbage, you know, but he makes them. So he was like hot garbage, like hot shooting. We're like, damn, like everybody had a nickname. Chemo, we had our James, he was Chemo.
Shout out to James.
Mike. So, but Pat was like, Pat, what's that? So we you know, after a while, I want to say like after 2 months, we're like, okay, we can't call him that no more. So
I never knew that.
I remember us watching that skit.
I thought it was that, but I never knew that.
Damn, you're bullying.
Wow.
And that may be why I never liked Pat. Like I never liked going by Pat. And the only person that gets that pass is Mike. I let Mike call me Pat all day, but like it's Patrick. If you're gonna call me Pat, you know my name, call me Patrick. Don't just abbreviate it with a Pat. So like whatever. But it's all good. It's all good. So
I noticed that when Mike got on, he was calling you Pat, and I was like, "Oh,
I mean, I've never heard anybody call you that before." It was like, "Cause you got that Pat." Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker.
So, he's about to revoke your pass.
Yeah.
So, yo, Mike, man. So I want to get into like growing up. You know, so like we met, and let's talk about growing up on the East Coast, because a lot of the cats that have been on our West Coast people, and a lot of people want to know about growing up on the East Coast. I think it's very similar, and so I'm curious to your opinion in it as well. I think, you know, for us, we didn't have a lot of organizations, although, you know, your dad was in an organization, and we kind of had like those gatherings at your house and a couple of other friends' spots, with, you know, with the Masons. I think your pop was a Mason, and then just the Philam Alpine group. But for the most part, if it wasn't those Filipino gatherings, I think for us, you know, it was chilling, getting high, playing basketball, and going to the arcade and watching movies. What do you think? What were you doing?
I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, like South Carolina, like coming from California, I know even though I was over there in a military town, you know, we had Philams over there, right? And in South Carolina, we had Philams, but we didn't have it as big as California and New York. You know, California and New York, their Philam is huge. for us, it's pretty much the people we went to school with. You know, that was our Phil-Am, and their families and their friends. So I want to say we had like 3 big schools with families in the Philippines, and Charleston being a military town, and you know, of course it got closed, but it was a military town. That's why you had a whole bunch of Filipinos over there. You know, I tell people when I was in the military, I'm like, yeah, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. They'd look at me and they'd be like, what? There's Filipinos over there? I was like, yeah, there's Filipinos over there. You know, anywhere there's a base, there's Filipinos over there. You know, I remember I went to Sweden for one of my deployments, and we had Filipinos over there. You know, they welcomed us with open arms. They're like, oh shoot, we don't get a lot of Filipinos in Sweden. You know, and they were house takers, and the place where they were taken care of was a house, and the people that owned it was only there, what did they say, like 2 weeks out of the whole year. So it was like a rich family house, but they were caretakers, and like we partied at that guy's house, and it was like overlooking the mountain. We're like, damn, you know, and they're okay with it because for them it was a job. And it gave them a place to stay, and they were in Sweden. It was like, dang, I didn't know there's Filipinos in Sweden. Kind of like nobody knows there's Filipinos in Charleston, South Carolina, you know? So, but like growing up, I mean, I don't know if there's a Facebook and there's an actual Phil-Am. So they finally established a building for us in Charleston, South Carolina, where it was a Phil-Am building where they do events and stuff like that. For like us growing up, that time we were there, they didn't have that. They just started it.
Oh,
so they started that building. They were making it. So they bought a lot, and now their Phil-Am happens over there. So,
oh, wow.
But
I got to peep that when I go back home, bro. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're having parties over there. I mean, it's bigger probably now than when we were there, because now there's more Filipinos over there than we were over there. Like when we used to play basketball, we didn't have a Phil-Am building. We played in high school. We played in the Goose Creek High School. Like our parents would negotiate with a school, like, hey, can we use the gym, and of course clean up afterwards. Mm-hmm. So, but our parents, you know, them growing up, they kind of wanted us to feel the experience. Because I remember growing up in the Philippines, my dad had a basketball league over there too, and they'd have parades. So I remember, I don't know if you remember, Pat, but that's the first thing we did was a parade where everybody walked through with their banners, and the players walked around the building. Same thing with for us, they had the volleyball team. So it was basketball and volleyball for the guys and volleyball for the girls. So they included the whole community in there. And of course, aunties and uncles, you know, they're over there pretty much just to get the kids out of doing nothing, mm-hmm. and then into the community of doing something. So that was our Phil-Am in Charleston. So it was them getting us to do, you know, kind of a little bit of the culture. So of course, after the basketball, there's always there's parties at the house, karaoke, you know, and eating good food.
Yes.
So that was a thing for us.
Oh, so yo, was Uncle Gil always basketball and got you into basketball? Your pops?
Yeah. So my dad had a basketball team. So in Charleston, you know, once he got over there, he wasn't the president yet, but of course he became president, and that's, you know, I think he did it for 2 years. So of course he yelled at me, but like, hey, I'm the president of Phil-Am. You need to set up your basketball team. So that's where we did the Redstone. We did what was the other team? We had a couple, like 3 teams that were on.
Yeah.
So, but you know, he wanted to put that up together because he did it in the Philippines, and he just wanted to get the Philippines together to, you know, to do something versus kids going out there and being naughty in the streets.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that,
because if we didn't have that, now we acting stupid.
What would we be doing? Nothing.
Yeah. All right, so let's flip that then. Okay. Because we did bring it up earlier. You and I mean, you know what? I'm gonna credit you to bringing the gang culture then to Goose Creek, South Carolina, because you was doing it in California, acting a fool. You didn't want to give us the full details, but HBP started with you, and we know that the other crew, FYI, ladies, the other crew's name was OTF. It went by One True Family at one point, but originally it was named after a girl that my boy Myke was dating. Her name was Olivia Tiffany Fabian. Shout out to Olivia. What's up, girl?
The gang was named after her?
This brother was really part of why gang started in Goose Creek.
It was
this guy right here, because he was talking to one
Filipinos.
Okay, one time.
But different groups. That's all it was. Like us and Pat, we were like the grungy guys, you know, the grungy Filipinos. And the other group was like the pretty boy Filipinos, you know, that hung out, you know. But we still, like, even to this day, we all see each other and be like, hey, what's up?
Because it's all love now. But why did it start? Yeah. Why did it start? Tell the story. We need to know the origination of HBP OTF. Break it down.
In short, it was just something for us to do. You know, you saw it back in the days. Back in the days, it was like East Coast, West Coast, Tupac versus Biggie. And in South Carolina, we're like, you know, for us, it was just like something for us to do. We're just thinking about it now. It's like, man, that was stupid. You know, we could have a better Filipino group back then than we should have.
But it started with a girl. It always starts with a lady.
It always starts with a girl.
You was dating somebody. Do I need to tell it? I only know it very little.
You could tell it. You could tell it. Weren't you dating? So there was this, you know, shout out to Olivia, Tiffany, Fabian, OTF, how it started. So we were already the hot boiled peanuts.
It's going to become a story that she's not glad you're shouting her out for.
I know, man.
We still in touch. We're on Facebook and all that. It's all love. You know, it's all love. But we're the hot boiled peanuts. It was just like our squad, right? How did HBP, just hot boiled peanuts, happen? Just because of the fair?
We were in a car. We all got high, and we were like, "Hey,
we're gonna call ourselves hot boiled
peanuts." Hey, let's be hot boiled peanuts.
But then it wasn't cool, so we had to change it to hard. Who changed it to hard brown panoys, bro?
I think Avery is the one who came up with that.
Hard brown panoys. Okay.
Yeah, but it was just us getting together, just making up our own group, trying to get more, you know, like a bonding among brothers.
Okay.
So like I still consider you guys our boys. So you know, back in the days.
Yeah, what you did before you could start a podcast, right? And you just...
I know, right?
So you dated Olivia or not? And then it's separated, but then there was a strife that happened because she started dating one of the rich kids, which was the other squad.
No, like it was me and Tiff. We were dating, and of course, one of the guys on the other side liked her, and then that's where like the beef started. Because you know, like you have cliques in high school. Everybody had their cliques. It was us, our clique, and against them, their clique. I was dating one of the girls, so they started hating us because we were dating and we're hanging out. And you know, us, like our group had boys and girls. Like we didn't date our sisters because like it was like a straight our group. We just hung out. So my house was like hangout spot. So I remember one time coming home and my parents was yelling at me, like, "Where the hell you been?" I was like, "I was at my girl's house." And who come and find out, it was like, I think it was you, it was Neil, and a whole bunch of other guys were in there eating. And my parents was getting mad at me. They're like, where the hell you been? Your friends are over here. Like, I didn't tell them to come over here, but they're over there sitting while my parents eating. They were like, "Oh yeah, where you been, Mike?" We're, you know, while they're eating. So I was like, nobody tell y'all to come over here. But that's how my house was. Like, my parents just invited us. Like I remember us drinking, and we would drink, and my parents were like, "Just drink in the house," because they know if we're gonna go drink, at least they know we're here. Yeah. You know, they'd be like, "Hey, put your keys over there. You guys don't drive anywhere. If you guys start drinking, just drink in the house because we know you're gonna do it anyways." Yeah. So for us, so after a while, it just became acceptable. I mean, we didn't drink as much as we should have, but it was like it wasn't one of those things where like, oh, we're gonna go get drink. Somebody's gonna get in an accident. No, you want to go drink? Let's go drink at my house. My parents over there. My mom's always cooking some food, so we just go over there, chill, and drink at the house. So and they were okay with that because they know like, hey, if we weren't gonna drink at the house, they're gonna drink somewhere else. So might as well at least here we could tell. Like, hey, they're drinking. We know they're at. Call their parents. Hey, these guys, knucklehead kids are at the house. They're gonna stay here, and we just spend the night over there, just drinking and just having a good time. So,
shout out to mom and dad.
Allowed to go anywhere else.
Oh yeah, it seems like your parents really looked out for you. I mean, when you were getting in trouble in California, kind of intervening, a little bit, and then once you were over here, and you were clearly doing things that maybe you shouldn't be doing, but that they could kind of chalk up to youthful indiscretions and kind of.
Yeah, I could thank my sister for that because she used to be getting in trouble all the time. My parents was like, "Why even fight it? They're gonna do what they're gonna go do. At least let's provide them a place to stay, hang out, and just at least we know where they're at. Call their parents. Hey, look, these guys are here. They're gonna hang out. They're drinking. At least they know we're here. So." It was good for my parents.
Shout out to Amor being the test subject.
Is she older?
Yes. Amor is my older sister. Okay. So like Amor, she got a nice name. Like I'm Mike. It's like, Mom, you could have named me anything better than that. You give my sister a good name. So But my sister's the one that named me. So she named me Myke because, of course, in Spain, Myke was popular. And she's like, oh, little brother, Myke. I was like, okay, cool. So, yeah, she was great.
I grew up
like in high school. Yeah.
Like I have an older brother, and we're really close in age, and we're really close in school. So he would go out anytime he wanted to. He's like, oh, I'm going to go to my friends. I'll see you like Sunday. And my parents were like, all right, bye. And then I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go over to my friend's house for a couple hours. And be like, where are you going? Why? You going over there? You better come back. And like, I was always watched. And then so whenever I would show up at a party, I'd be like, oh, all right, I'm out. I get to do stuff. And then my brother would show up and he'd be like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing here? What are you doing here? Like, I finally got out. Like, don't mess this up. Yeah.
See, I think some of that might be the fact that you're a girl, though, because I'm the oldest and my brother's like 5 years younger than me. And he got to do stuff when he was like 12 that I was 17, and not like he could ride his bike out the neighborhood and he could do this and do that. And I'd be like, I only can do this now because I can drive. Like, what the hell? And they'd be like, oh, because he's, and you're,
Yeah, you mentioned like your sister was the one getting in trouble. I was like, I wonder if she's younger or older. Because then if she's older, it's like, oh, she's older than you. And then now they're like, well,
they used up all their energy.
Yeah,
pretty much. That's what happened. They got so sick and tired of dealing with her, but like, your turn? Yeah, whatever. We're not even gonna deal with it. Like, do what you're gonna do because we know you're gonna do it. But I wasn't as bad as my sister though. So.
Yeah. So it's also easy if your bar's kind of you don't have to struggle so much. Like, what's my limit? All right, I'll go right up to that. So so this was like, so you guys first met like high school?
Yeah.
High school. Yeah.
Right. And then did you
sophomore year, right? Sophomore or junior? No, junior year. Sophomore or junior?
Sophomore.
Sophomore, okay.
Because that's when you came.
Yeah. Okay.
What was high school Kuya P like? What described him to us?
So Pat was different. Like, and South Carolina is not one of those schools that you go to that's gonna fulfill your creative needs, right? It was just that kind of school. I mean, you go back there now, and that school, because of Lotto, that school now has an indoor gym, and now they're good to go. Like when we went there, it was more ghetto. So we had, I remember shootings at school. I remember that time. Yeah. I remember that time. But I mean, it wasn't a school that pushed a lot of creativity. It's just because, of course, the school didn't have no money. So it was just there. You go to school. There was some people we had good artists come out of there. A lot of people went to Clemson after school over there. But Pat, I mean, he just came there and he was like, damn, this guy, a little strange guy. He's always wanted to do this, wanting to do that. And I wish, just thinking back now, I wish we had that culture back then, because, it would have given us a whole bunch of more avenues to go to. Because you come out of Goose Creek, South Carolina, you're like, okay, what am I do? Some will go to college, and 90% will go to the military just to get out of there. So that's how it was school. Like for me, that's how it felt like. So my parents didn't push me to go to college. They were like, okay, what do you want to do? What? Huh? Nothing? Okay, either go to school or go to the military is what they pushed me. So like knowing Pat, I mean, he was creative. He always wanted to do stuff. But of course, in that area, we just didn't have no friends who was creative. Like the guys you guys interviewed for Lumpia, I mean, they had avenues, they had things to look forward to help them with their creativity. In South Carolina, not too much. I know Pat was always there. He was always wanting to do stuff. I wish we could have. It would have been great to have more avenues, have more resources, had people on TV that we could look up to and be like, oh shoot, that's a Filipino guy doing this. That's an Asian guy doing that. But all we had was like Bruce Lee, Jet Li, and that was karate stuff. Nothing really creative, like being an actor, or being like that so sought out businessman to look forward to. So for us, there was nothing on TV that we could look forward to that gave us the creativity. Like, hey, I could be like him. Unlike it is now. Like now there's so many cultures, there's so many diversity. Like, hey, you could do this. You know, like you could be black and do this, you could be Asian and do this. You know, it's not always that, hey, you're white and the sky's the limit for you. For us, it wasn't. It was like, hey, you're Asian and yeah, go to military. So, but knowing Pat, I mean, he had a whole bunch of stuff that he always wanted to do, but we just had no avenues to go do it. Just thinking back, I was like, damn, I wish we had all that stuff, had that resources to do stuff.
Did you feel like we were in a rut, bro? Like because of that?
We were. Like, I remember, like, for us, I remember before we went to the military, we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Go to college? Yeah, I don't want to go to school. You know, there was no outlet for us to say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to go pursue. This is my mentors I could reach out to and be like, hey, look, can you help me get to this avenue? It wasn't like that. It was more just like, you know, school's done. Now what? You know, military. That's what we did.
So because of that, like, I don't know about you, bro, but like I knew that was, I felt I was in a rut. So you and I, we both joined the military. You're part of the reason why I went into the military because, you know, like I had scholarships in here and there, but I was worried about money with my family, you know, my mom and dad, because they didn't really save up this, that, and the third. And it was just like your parents, military. We lived in that environment. Yeah. And I knew there's much more for me. But I don't know if you not really talked about goals. I know, you know, that was what you were going to do. That's what Chris decided to do. Shout out to Chris Josen. It was the three of us that went into the military. But what did you want to do, man? Like, or did you just were complacent with, or just really had no clue because of just where we were at in that stage of our life? Or like, I just knew I was destined for more. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I just wanted to get into creative shit. No matter what kind of creative industry that was in, I just knew I wanted to do that personally. But I joined the military because I knew I had to first at least get out because we didn't have the capital to do it. And I was afraid with college and all the other expenses that was going to be there. So that's why I went military with you and Chris. But where was your head at, man?
Yeah, I was the same boat as you. I was like, I didn't know what to do. You know, that's where most kids are now. Like if you have nothing to look forward to, no mentors, no idols to say, hey, oh man, this guy's doing this. You know, it was like mostly like, okay, what do you want to do? I just get the hell out of here. End up going to the military. So, I mean, we're pretty much like you said, we're in a rut of what we're going to do in life. So now, like my daughter, she's kind of in that rut now because of COVID. She's a senior this year. And I'm always asking, hey, what do you want to do? You know, you're going to business. I want to, you know, start talking to her about other things she wants to do, the way she could go pursue it. I was like, hey, you're not going to military. You're going to college. You know, I don't care what you do. You could go to community college for the first couple of years, figure out what you want to do. For us, it wasn't that. It was like my parents was like, hey, look, if you're not going to go to college, you join the military because we're going to the Philippines. So they're ready to leave and be like,
you got to go.
Yeah. Sort yourself out. You good?
I do. I find that's very interesting. My mom is military and she has always told me, it's kind of weird to put it this way. I have a heart murmur. It's really slight, but she was like, I'm so glad you can't go into the military because you would be disqualified for your heart murmur. Because she did not want me living that life. Just because I think she felt like that was something that she did very much like you. Like she grew up in Tennessee, small town, didn't have a lot of options, wasn't particularly academic. Mm-hmm. And she just knew like, hey, this is a way for me to pay the bills. She got sucked in for longer than she meant to, for sure. Right. That's always the case. And get kind of transitioned out and she became a nurse for a little while, worked for the post office after that. And actually she's had a lot of very Filipino jobs for a white woman. And you know, that was something she always told me and my brother and my sister growing up was that, you know, she didn't ever want us to feel like that we should get into a job or career just because it didn't look like we have other options, because there are so many options and she just didn't get to know about them. So I think that's really interesting, like military parenting, how it's changed from like now to, because her father was in the military and he was all about her going in. And so, you know, I think the attitude towards military as like a lifeline has really changed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, military is great. I mean, it's not for everybody though.
Yeah.
Like I've been in, I'm still in.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's changed my life for the better because my dad was in, he did 24 plus years. I'm at 24 now. So I'll probably, you know, and I'm still in. So, and for me, I've had leadership positions where I had guys work for me and some of them is like, it's not for you, you know, do your 4 years, but while you're in, do something good with it. don't let it be like high school where you went to high school, did stuff, and never got anything out of it. So all my guys, I was like, hey, if you're gonna be here for 4 years, and if it's for you, great, go on with it. But if it's not for you, go to school. Go one or two classes, 1-2 college courses while you're in. And most of them have. So I have guys who's worked underneath me, and they've succeeded. They're in college right now getting degrees. So, and I tell everybody, military is not for everybody. So, but it's a good way to make you open your eyes and be like, oh, damn, this is what real work is all about, And of course, you get to see the world. 90% of the world is water. So in the Navy, they got to see water, but they got to experience a little bit of culture. Mm-hmm. So from going to different places like Bahrain, Middle East, Thailand, Philippines, I mean, you get to experience that, but it's military is not for everybody, but it's a good eye opener. If you don't know what to do, do 3 years, go see what the world's all about, because you'll meet a whole bunch of people. I mean, I've met wonderful people, wonderful people being in the military. So, and good mentors who told me and pushed me to be, better in the military. And I didn't know I was going to be in this year. First 3 years, I was like, damn, I'm getting the hell out. But of course, shit happened.
And that was me.
Had family, had kids. I'm still in. Pat was that way. Pat's the one who was like, hey, 3 years. But everybody has like different experiences in the military. All my commands I've been to was great. Pat, talking to Pat and his first command, he hated it. So, I mean, it's not for everybody, and not every place and not every command in the military is that way. So fortunately for me, I mean, it's been great. I've loved it. I'm still in, and I've been doing great at it. Pat, he got his little thing on there.
And I'm happy for you, bro. I'm so happy for you, man. And so a little bit more. So, I was out after 4 years. And now it's so great to hear that you're such on a positive point now in this stage and you're happy with what you're doing. But before you was for me, I don't know if you remember, there was during my 4, there was that low point, which made me decide I need to get up out because I almost killed myself. And I don't know if you remember that, but that was my main struggle point. And where I was out on the flight deck in the Persian Gulf and had a switchblade and was ready to end it all because one of my girls from back home in South Carolina started fucking around with my friend. And then we had lost Taurus, if you remember.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Taurus, who died coming back from one of our Alpine basketball games. And it was just all of that, Taurus dying, my girl cheating on me, Myke being my best friend being somewhere else, I don't know if you're in the Gulf
too. We're different commands together. Yeah, we're different ships. So, but we're in Norfolk together. Yeah. But of course, different ships. So.
Yep. So it's just, all this potential, and for me, I wanted to do so much other stuff, but I felt like this was the only route I had, the only choice I had. And, so like after 4, I was out. So what was the struggle point for you? Or did you ever reach kind of like that low point in your life to then help build you to where you're at now? Because I now get strength from that low point in my life. That that point where I almost decided to end myself, I now use that as a source of I'll never, ever, ever get to that point again. And that channels and feeds my vibe and my push to everything that I do now. So I'm curious if you ever had that point between then and then, so from your low point to your high points, and what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned and now you're imparting to your young soldiers under you or young sailors?
Yes, I remember this one point where me and you went downtown, got drunk, drove home drunk, and me and you pretty much almost died. I remember me and you hitting that barrier, going back to the base, the front of the car getting smashed, doing 360 one way, going 360 the other way, and us waking up, but like, what in the hell? I mean, it was like a life-changing experience for me and you. I remember you were like, damn, you waking up and us spinning. And
yeah, if I didn't wake up, we would have been dead. So since the Ates live in Virginia Beach, y'all live in Norfolk. Do you know the base housing in Norfolk? There's that highway that that makes it curves and goes.
You can see the movie theater. Yes.
Yeah, the highway where you can see the movie theater, you can see the exchange. That highway, like where it curves. Yeah, we almost ran off that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There were scratch marks still from his car that were there even after the accident. But Myke fell asleep on me. And he was the one driving. I looked to the side. I'm like, what the fuck? Then I look ahead of me, woke his ass up. At that point, we hit it. And then we did the 2 360s. And That was some shit. We should have. If I was about asleep too, but if he didn't hit me falling asleep, because I was like already kind of out, and we moved at that exact moment, and he hit the turn, we would have both been dead.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you know, like that moment right there, and you know how we were talking at the beginning about the Day of the Dead. I want to say like 5 seconds before that, like I want to say that somebody smacked me on the back of my head. I woke up, I shrugged my shoulders, and Pat was sleeping on my shoulders. That kind of woke him up, and it kind of woke me and him up, and we're like, oh shit, you know, and got a hold of the car before we, you know, veered off. Got to move the car to the left to where we weren't going over that embankment. So it's one of those things where we're like, ooh, somebody's looking out for us.
Yeah.
So
it would have been done.
Wow.
What do we hit up Abyss? We was at Abyss, I think, too, in Virginia Beach. Shout out to Abyss. If y'all remember Abyss.
Don't shout out Abyss. I unshout them out.
Does that still exist? Does that place still exist?
Nah, I think Abyss is gone, right?
No, does it? Well, there's something new there anyway, but I know what you're talking like.
We know about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember when we met Pharrell there? We met some friends, and then of course they introduced us to Pharrell. That's where like the first time we met Pharrell. But it wasn't like you know, hey, we hung out. We're like, oh, this is Pharrell. They DJ at the school and stuff. We're like, oh, okay, whatever.
We did meet him, right? I wanted to say we did, but I couldn't really remember.
We met him at the Abyss. It was Abyss that we met him.
Shit, yeah. Level 2, Have a Nice Day Cafe. Those were I remember. And ODU. Yo, Kat went to ODU, right? You went to ODU? That club across from ODU? Bruh, remember? We was handling business at ODU, son. Remember?
Oh my God.
Across the street. There's that club. I forgot the name of that ODU club. Anyway, but yeah, I just got a real hood. I just started remembering old shit just then. Yo, so Myke, man, what are some lessons you've learned as well from you know, since that point, man? I got out, but you stayed in. Like, what were your goals and dreams of now? So you've been lucky, and you've been able to maintain, and you had a family and everything. So
yeah, I mean, having a family pretty much changes as well too. Having a family changes your perspective. Once you start having kids, once you start having people other than you to look out for, like, okay, if I do something wrong, this is gonna affect other people. So that's what kind of makes you open your eyes up. So I mean, having kids, having my daughter, I mean, that kind of opened your eyes up and be like, all right, cool. You know, let me work for not just me, but my family. So that was one of the things that, of course, opened my eyes up. And then, of course, stuff that happened between me and you and just life in general, you know? I mean, there's actually more opportunities than you think that's out there than what you expect. Some people will get into a rut and be like, oh, man, there's nothing. There is. If you just looked at life, not half empty, but look, okay, hey, it's you know, life is full of stuff that you could do. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that you could do. So you just got to be able to accept it. I mean, just going to be some downtimes, of course. Not everything's happy-go-lucky. But, you know, you find your way. You find something you're good at. You find something like you like doing and you enjoy it. You know, move on forward. So for me, I still love the military. I mean, it's still good for me. I mean, it still provides for me. I like it. For me, it's, you know, it's gotten better. And just helping young guys underneath me and talking to them and just changing their path. So that's always been a good plus for me.
So would you say military attributed to that because you got to see more of the world? You weren't stuck in Charleston. You got to see what life was like in other countries and other cities and everything. Because I would say that plays a big deal in that. Because, you know, it's difficult for when I go back to South Carolina. I don't know what it is for you, but when I go back and see some of our old folks and they're still in their set ways, and you just, I don't know about you, I want just so much more for them because they just think in that just area, in that town, they don't know more than that. And it hurts. Yeah. And how about you with that?
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, you go to South Carolina, you still see the same people doing the same thing, you know, still smoking up, still doing what they got to do. Like they were in high school. It's like, there's more to it than what you did in high school. So there's more stuff out there. I mean, I remember you going back and talking about like, hey, what's the difference between South Carolina and California? I mean, there's good things in South Carolina, you know, I mean, living in California, you know, California, it's too, I don't want to say too plastic, but everybody's all about the image, you know, like, oh, they got to have good stuff. They got to have this nice car. They have this big house. I mean, South Carolina, we're all poor, so we didn't care about none of that. but we had people that came from California, like myself, who went to South Carolina, and were like, man, I don't have to work up and buy this big ass house and just enjoy life kind of thing. So that's what I like about South Carolina. It's not about being plastic. So it's more about, hey, just enjoying the family. So that's why I call Charleston my home, man. I mean, that's where I met you guys. That's where we grew up. I mean, there's good times and bad times. I mean, you know, there's no, how do you say, there was no helping get us where we wanted to be, but it was that family atmosphere that we had, you know, like that. The fill line wasn't big, but I mean, our parents made it great. So it wasn't, the experience wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting because it was like it seemed to be one of your main, like, I guess, sources of like motivation for joining the military was like, I gotta get out of here. And now you're kind of like, come right back, right?
Full circle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, this is home.
I like that.
I think that's beautiful. I think your journey, just what you've experienced and what you can say about your military career and about how you're now encouraging your daughter to explore her options and how you're always telling, you know, your younger guys to explore your options and to better yourselves. I think that's beautiful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went to go visit my sister. So my sister, they live in Texas. And my nieces, they're half white, half Pinay's. And my nieces, like you guys, I mean, my youngest niece, Jamie, she goes to the store and will buy fish heads. And I remember this weekend, we're talking about, hey, what do you check in the box when you see those surveys? They check Asian. And you look at them and be like, no way, they don't look Asian at all. But for them, they feel that they're Asian because my sister, she's really strong personality about being Asian and being a woman and all that stuff. And she just like kind of instilled it to them. So for them to be like, wow, they don't feel ashamed saying that they're Asian, they're Pinay's. I mean, they accept it and they're like, oh, hell yeah. And then my niece, she's junior now. And I told her, it's like, hey, what do you got to check when you go for the college thing? She was like, if it benefits me, check. Asian, give me my scholarship, if in an all-white school, I'll be that Asian, even though she looks more mestiza than anything. Mm-hmm. So she's learned how to accept it. And then it humbles me, but like, wow, it's because they're accepting the culture. They want to indulge it. Kind of like you guys, like, hey, look, you guys, I remember us growing up. I mean, like, especially how you guys were talking about, like, you guys growing up, you guys not being instilled in the Filipino culture and all that stuff, and now you guys are, right? Not a lot of Filipinos that's born in the States is doing that. There's not. I mean, you talk to some aunties, they got kids who's full Filipino, but they don't care about the culture, and you guys are. I was like, wow, I was like, that's inspiring to know that you guys are half, but you guys are more Filipino than Filipinos are out there who grew up in the States are, and you guys are embracing it. They're like, wow, like my nieces, they like it. They like adobo, they like rice, they love all that stuff. It's because they're accepting it, they're wanting to be it. And you guys are doing the same thing. You guys are accepting it, but like, hell yeah, I want to learn more about Filipino culture. Yeah, you can't say that with a lot of second-born, third-born, third-generation Filipinos who grew up in the Philippines or grew up in the States. They don't do that. You talk to most of them, like in the military. I'm in the military. I see third-generation Filipinos who's full Filipino come into the military, and I just, hey, kamusta na? Just a basic Tagalog, and they're like, what? I was like, yeah, you guys want to go eat some rice and adobo? They're like, no. They're more Americanized. Then I was like, really? They're like, no, there's nothing Filipino about them, but they look Filipino. You guys, mestizas, but you guys are embracing it. You guys are wanting to accept it. You guys want to learn more about it. I'm like, wow. I wish more third generation Filipinos who's born in the States are like that. I wish there was more, because you guys are embracing and want to learn more about it. And why not? And that for me, I was like, wow, you guys are amazing. You guys want to learn more. It makes me want to learn more. Coming home, we went to my sister's in Texas, and my daughter and them were like, hey, you guys need to talk to us more in Tagalog. I was like, oh, okay. You guys want to learn more Tagalog? Fine. I'll yell at you more in Tagalog. That's fine. And they want to know more about it, because my kids are third generation. My dad, Filipino. Me, Filipino American. My kids, they're more American than Filipino,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to learn more about it. And that it's them accepting and wanting to learn more is what makes you Filipino. So, I mean, I remember California. I remember California going to a party and there was a white guy there and he's talking Filipino. I was like, yeah, damn, man, that guy's more Filipino than me. Because he's embracing the culture. He wants to learn more about it. And that's what makes you Filipino if you want to embrace it, and you want to learn more about the culture. You know, and that's what you guys are doing, and I applaud you for it. You know, learn more about it. That makes me want to learn more about, you know, Lapu-Lapu and all these other Filipinos, because I didn't grow up in the Philippines. I grew up knowing American history, not Filipino history. They taught you some, and listening to you guys makes me want to learn more about my Filipino culture. You know, I do want to go visit the Philippines. It's supposed to be this year. Before COVID, we were supposed to go to the Philippines, and you know, my parents, we're all talking about like going to different islands because I grew up there. All I know is Baguio, Manila, Pangasinan, General Santos City. That's all I know. But looking at Facebook and all that stuff, there's so many places in the Philippines that's beautiful that I want to go visit. You know, that I want to go learn more about. Yeah, I want to immerse myself in knowing more about the Philippines than what I wanted to know in the past, you know. And just watching you guys, I was like, dang, man, they're more Filipino than me because they want to know more about this stuff. I was like, damn, I need to go on that level and learn more about Filipino culture. It's our heritage.
It's like so many people that have come on the show and said it is who you are, and it's like no matter if you feel entitled to it or not, like that's still a part of you.
Yes.
And it should be celebrated. So
yeah,
Thank you.
Oh, you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be on the bingo
Oh
card.
my God.
Is Tina getting feeling
me crying bingo sheet.
Bro, I got so much to show you too, man. Whenever we link up, and you know, we connect anytime. But man,
oh yeah,
doing this, we're learning so much, man. And bro, peep the hat, man. Magellan killer, son. That's what we do.
me neither.
Awesome.
I love it.
Oh man.
And thank you so much for coming on and embarrassing Kuya P and letting us little sneak peek into his backstory, his heroic backstory.
oh yeah, he's always been creative. He's always been a creative guy. I'm glad he found his outlet. So, I mean, this is it's good. That's good. You know, you go on that path of what you want to do. Look what happens.
No, look at him.
No.
We love our Kuya P. So we love having you on. We look forward to hearing from his other friends. We love seeing the journey. Like, we just know the great guy he is now. It's awesome to hear about the man he was and where he came from.
Yeah, he used to have more hair too. Like every time he used to go out, he used to be slicking his hair back, you know, doing all this with his hair. It used to be all about his hair before we went out. You know, like, hey, give me that gel before you give me the Mad Dog 50/50 before we go out drinking. Just give me that gel first so I can fix up my hair. 30 minutes in front of the mirror. I was like, dude, we gotta go, man. The club's about to open. Hold on, man. Hold on. Slathering up.
Yo,
I was like, oh my
it's
God.
wild you say that because today I haven't felt.
And look at you now, man.
I feel
What
like I'm
happened?
balding, dude. Yo, it's a lot's missing now, bro. Like it's going. I'm losing hair, bro. Like I think I'm gonna have to shave it all off, man.
It just migrated. It migrated.
Yeah. I pushed it down.
Yeah.
Pushed it down.
There you go.
Oh, Myke, we have one more question for you.
Our question we always like to close out with a little nerd check since we're the nerds of color. So what is your nerdy passion? What is the thing that you just gush about? That if I asked you to give a TED talk on it, you could talk about it for hours.
Wow. Yeah, I knew this was coming up. and thinking about it, I was like, I really don't have one.
It doesn't have to be something you know very well. It can be just something you like a lot.
And that's the thing. Like, I could talk about a whole bunch of stuff, regardless of what it is, whatever the topic is.
You used to be a car guy, right?
Yeah, I used to be a car guy. But with me, it's like, okay, I'll get into one thing. I'll get into like fish tanks one day, you know, and the next day it'd be about cars. And like now, I'm all about stock market and buying and selling stock.
There we go.
You know?
That's your current interest.
Yeah,
Right now,
to me, it's always different. It's always different. So, like, you bring up a topic and I'll research it for 30 minutes and I'll be like, damn, it sounds like an expert in that. And I don't know anything about it. So,
well, you a stocks guy though now. I would say you could talk on stocks, right?
Yeah. Me and Neil, we do stocks. So I mean, we talk about like Teslas and the Neos and all those other stocks. I mean, that's what I'm into now. Is like the stock market and buying and selling and day trading. So that's what I've been doing now.
About Tesla splitting their stocks.
No, it's a good thing. I mean, they're in the S&P 500 now. So I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, it's a stock everybody has to buy if you have a 401k and invest. So it's a good thing. But me, I buy it one day and I'll sell it the next. So it's just one of those things I like doing now. It's like a hobby now. So
Yeah.
like you're about to retire from the military. What are you gonna do? Oh, I'll do stock trading. So that's my thing now.
Yeah,
So,
I like
it's a
that.
little
That
something.
counts. That counts.
Yeah.
I like that. You're the first person to give us that. So
Mhm.
you are unique.
Good deal.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, thank you again, Myke. Thank you for coming in and speaking on Kuya P and sharing with us. Yeah, it's touching.
It was good. Yeah. We had fun.
Appreciate you guys having me. So it's been great. So I mean, there's more stuff about Pat that.
Yeah, we'll have to do a second round.
Yeah, and have a full roast session.
Yeah. Next time we'll make it a drinking game. How's that?
Oh, hey, okay.
Yeah. That'll get you on board.
Hey, it's gonna get real crazy.
Yeah.
Yo, salamat, bro. Mahakita, man. You know I love you, Kuya.
Love you too, bro.
All right, that was
Buhay.
Mr. Myke
Thanks for having me.
Agojo, man. Appreciate you, brother. All right. That's my Kuya, man. Yeah, he was best man at my wedding. Yeah, he was. I didn't really say it, but like he was a cat that I wanted to be as a kid. There, he was the full cat that had Filipino parents and knew about the culture and knew about the history and was involved in everything. And I didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? I was the half kid that wanted to, wanted my culture, but didn't really have that coming to me like that.
It just has the connection to it,
Yeah.
It's like he did.
And it was a puppy. He had a car. He was no one else. There was only about 2 or 3 of us that had cars. He was one of them. And yeah.
He had cool parents that
the cool parents. He had this. We were always at his spot eating his food while he was out doing whatever. Hey, auntie, uncle. We just
that sounds so Filipino too. Where it's like, oh, your friends are here. Well, we fed them.
Yeah, it was a spot, man. That's the brother right there. But yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. All right, there you go, my Kuya, Myke Agojo. We talked a little bit about the Howard Brown Pinoys. Shout out to HBP, the whole squad, PJ, Monkey, Ryan, everybody, all the whole squad. Shout out to OTF, One True Family, and Olivia that it started with. She was like part of the squad. She was like, again, one of the homies, and that's just how it was. But nothing but love. We all still crew and love each other when we see each other, man. But that was dope. But I thought y'all was gonna really get into me, but y'all didn't. So now I gotta pull back. I think when we do y'all, because y'all didn't really go for my jugular. I thought y'all was gonna go harder.
Your guest was too interesting.
Right.
Like it turned out we were more interested in his life than yours, and that was that was what happened. But no, I think we should have a reunion. I think you should try to get you guy Monkey. I really want to hear what a guy called Monkey would think about Kuya P growing up. Yeah. And we'll have
Monkey will probably give you a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll all have a little whiskey that night. Yeah.
Yep. We'll have a little whiskey. We'll dive deep. We'll ask some pointed questions. It'll be cool. We'll get the
Yeah, we should do alcohol. Alcohol will bring a little bit more out.
Absolutely. And actually, you're not going to have to dig deep because when I brought this up to my best friend in high school about doing this, he was extremely excited and immediately started recounting embarrassing stories to me. And I said, okay. I want to forget that this happened until you bring it up. I don't want to be anticipating. So we're just gonna have to. You just have to wait. You're not even gonna have to. You be like hi and be like, let me tell you. And
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. That's gonna be awesome. All right.
No, but that was really cool. Like again, hearing his story, hearing his unique Filipino American story, where traveling around in the Navy. and just like the inspirational things that he had to say about exploring your options and that you always have more options and you even think that are out there. So I think that's really great how he's giving that to his younger sailors and he's giving that to his daughter. And I thought it was really cool, like the kinds of Filipino cultural things that kind of popped up in conversation. Like one thing I wrote down was how he was saying how speaking Tagalog, he would speak Tagalog to his like girlfriend's parents, and that was like a sign of like no, I'm good. And that's something that's come up before too, where it's like, oh well, if you speak it, then you know it's a sign of like legitimacy, and how like that's one thing that like my auntie said to me, where she's like, oh, you don't even speak Tagalog. It's like, okay, yeah, thanks. And how he just kind of casually was saying, he's like, yeah, I spoke Tagalog, so I was good. And I'm like, there it is. That's one of the cultural things.
Yeah, linguistic legitimacy. That's going to be an episode.
For real. Because I completely forgot about that until that conversation came up. And yeah, I remember that's what endeared him to all these other chicks and their aunties. Because I was like, yo, how did Myke get with that chick? He got cool with that because he could sling it and I couldn't talk it. And so like, yeah, he hooked up with some other Filipino girls that I might have wanted to connect with, but because he could sling it, I can't hate on my boy. My boy played his cards, respect to your boy. It's whoever gets in there first, respect. You know what I'm saying? So he did. And we would talk about it. I'm like, bro, you got it because you could talk to the moms, man. And and it's you get down with the moms, you win with the girl. It's player 101.
That's very big Filipino cultural too. I know, like that could be an episode. My grandfather courted my grandmother through her mother. Like you arrange it with the mom and you're good. And like that's a big cultural thing. So
totally, yeah, that's real talk. And I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's it used because we would actually bring it up amongst the fellas. Like, bro, that's how Myke got that chick. Yeah. And that's how whatever got that chick, because they all were the Tagalog speakers and we didn't really speak Tagalog. And that was part of the game.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, we definitely got to do that one because that's part of our history and our culture and how, a lot of that happened. But yeah, that was wild. That was cool. And I got to learn a lot about my boy. Because again, as kids in high school, you don't ask about these kind of throwback questions, or at least we didn't. We just wanted to get high and go play basketball. That's all we did was get high and play basketball and play video games. That was what we did. But I love those brothers to death. We've been through life and death, as y'all heard too. And yeah, if you ever, I'm sure those marks are no longer on that swerve corner in Norfolk. But yeah, we almost went over that thing and we could have both been gone. It was crazy. But we had a great night at Abyss, though. Shout out to Abyss. I'll bring him Abyss back. Abyss was love, yo. Abyss was
all right, and on that note, Tina, where can they find you?
You can find me. I'm on the internet. On Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina and on Twitter and chess.com at vivavalentinaxo.
And you can find me, Kataphorric, at I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can also find the ShoPowSho TikTok. And if you're interested in finding a little bit more behind the scenes, like the episode where we make lumpia, you can check out our Patreon and give us a little support, or you could buy us a coffee.
Yes. Shout out to the Ates, the Lechon ladies. Love y'all so much. Kataphorric, Viva Valentina. I am Kuya P, your Tocino Terminator of the Hard Brown Pinoys and the ShoPowSho. You can follow me at Strange Since 1977 and at Temple Far East. Here at ShoPowSho and our home site of the Nerds of Color. That's at the Nerds of Color everywhere, and at Nerds Rule the World at the NRW, which is our even bigger pop culture sphere. Love y'all, man. This was fun, man. Woo! All right, let's do it again. Until next time. Mahakita. Salamat. We out of here. VA Beach all day, Abyss.
Yeah, you guys are great, man. I love what you guys are doing. It's so heartwarming. You know, I tell my guys who's full Filipino, my guys I work with who's full Filipino, those guys will be like, no, you all need to check these guys out because they're half and they're wanting to know more about being Filipino than you are. You know, and that's embarrassing. I was like, dude, come on, man. These girls eat rice, they eat lumpia, they eat friggin', you know, they go to a Filipino store. I mean, I was like, dang, these guys who grew up in the Philippines, it's just so sad that they don't care. You know, it's like, really, your culture is a lot. So my name is Myke Agojo, and my Filipino heritage means all to me because, of course, it's who I am. Love y'all.